Ladies and gentlemen, Sahara TV welcomes you to a special feature on a land grabbing that is happening right now in northern Nigeria, in a town called Gassol in Taraba State. A land grab is simply defined as a situation where local citizens, in this case farmers, lose their ability to cultivate lands because the right to exploit the land is given to a foreign company. This is a situation happening all over Africa as governments try to increase national food production by allocating fertile lands and water resources to foreign companies. Joining us by telephone today to help us understand what's happening in Gassol is Raymond Enoch, the founder and chief executive officer of the Center for Environmental Education and Development. He is the national coordinator of the National Alliance Against Hunger in Nigeria. Mr. Enoch is also a member of the National Coordinated Research Project in Nigeria. Welcome to Sahara TV, Mr. Enoch.
Thank you.
Okay. Please tell us a little bit about the community in Gassol which is experiencing this land grab situation. What do they do?
Yeah, as you rightly mentioned, Gassol community is a town allocated in Gassol local government area of Taraba State, in northeastern part of the country and by extension northern Nigeria. And basically the community are farmers. It's a farming community. They do fishing on the bank of a river called River Tella that passes just by the less than 10 meters away from, less than 100 meters away from the very plot of land in question. And then they also do cattle rearing. They do farming on a lot of crops, notably maize, rice, and do a lot of rice production, and unicorn, millet, and vegetables, and some few other food crops.
And how long, Raymond, how long have the community been living in Gassol, in this disputed land?
It's a quiet and old city. But the piece of land in question is allocated to Upper Benue River Basin Development Authority since 1976. You can see that even when the federal government started farming activity on that portion of land, which is now under the Federal Ministry of Water Resources, it's quite a long period of time. In fact, since the creation of the defunct government state. So it's a quite long period of time. We are talking about more than 4 to 5 decades now.
Okay, and the land in question, have the community received any kinds of assistance from the Upper Benue River Basin Development Authority in actually cultivating and living off of the land?
Yes, during our interactions and interview with the community people on our visit to them on the 9th to 14th of June last year, and then our discussions with the area manager of Upper Benue River Basin Development Authority, and of course the farm manager on the very farm in question. You know, basically, Upper Benue River Basin Development Agencies or authorities were established to support farmers in the very community where they were established on land development and boosting introduction of new system of farming, a new agricultural system of farming and production, especially that has to do with seed management, and also managing of water resources. You can farm during dry season, and then you can also farm during the rainy season, so that the year farmers are engaged. And so, they are also provided with extension services and so on. That is the basic reason of establishing the Upper Benue River Basin Development Authority. And I think generally we have about 13 of them in Nigeria. So this one is one of them, and it consists of about 38,000 hectares of land.
Okay.
And that portion of land has been put to use because they have a farm center on it. They have staff quarters on it. They have water treatment plant. And they have central stores where agricultural inputs are brought to and stored. And then they have also electricity supply, which is what the water treatment plant use to pump water to the farming during dry season farming, and also to the staff quarters where is being used by the Upper Benue River Basin Development Authority for long before the coming of Dominion farms on the plot of land in question.
Okay, so Dominion Farms is at the center of this issue. But before they came, there's an interesting story of how they came about. I understand our grandfather and former head of state, Olusegun Obasanjo, had a part to play with this. Can you please talk a bit on this?
Yes, from the stories we had and from the discussion we had with the farmers, they were just in the community on a fateful day, and then they saw things. They are used to receiving visitors. They think the portion of that land that is being in use, is being put to use, is being managed by the Upper Benue River Basin Development Authority. But on that fateful day, they saw visitors coming into the farmland. And of course, the first place of visit in any community is the chief's house. Mm-hmm. So they were all gathered in the chief's house, and then the chief had the opportunity to inform them that they have August visitors visiting their community. Of course, since they know that they have Upper Benue River Basin Development Authority situated in their community. And so from there, they went to check the land. Like I told you, Upper Benue River Basin Development Authority have road system. If you must have seen in one of the reports I sent to you, they have the road system that passes through the farm. Mm-hmm. That allows them opportunity to go with use their vehicles to enter the farm, and then also to check on routine visits to the farm area. So they went, and after that they were now addressed by not by General Obasanjo himself, but by, of course, the state governor then, Pharmacy Zambaba Sunte was also in company. Siwa Danjo was also in company. The white, Mr. Kelvin, who is the white man and the chief security advisor of the Dominion Farms Rice Limited, he was also in company with his team. And the Ministry of Officials of the State Ministry of Agri, Federal Ministry of Agri, Federal Ministry of Water Resources, they are also in the team. So they now address the community people that, yes, we are introducing a company that will be taking this portion of land for the purpose of food production. And they told the community people then that they will be constructing the roads leading to the area, they will be constructing hospitals, they will be constructing schools, they will be constructing the farm center, and then they will also be boosting food production. And in the process, they will employ citizens or indigenes of that area as staff of the new company in question. So after the address, they all left. Farmers were not allowed to ask questions, what and what should be done. And you know, normally in cases like this, assessments are being done as to who occupies what, and who should be given what, and so on.
An environmental assessment or a social
and that aspect was entirely left to the State Ministry of Agriculture and the State Ministry of Land and Survey in the state to so do, in consultation with the Federal Ministry of Agriculture and the Federal Ministry of Water Resources. Thereafter, an MOU will now be prepared to be signed in by the Federal Ministry of Agriculture on the one hand, Dominion Farms on the other hand, and the State Ministry of, and the Taraba State government on the other hand.
Okay.
And in this case, farmers will be left in the center, not really involved in the whole process.
Mr. Enoch, so what I'm gathering is that initially, when Dominion Farms expressed interest in the land, the community was promised a certain number of improvements in their life, including the roads and employment. So at that time, they were welcomed. But since then, when the actual negotiations for handing over the land happened, the community was left out. Is that right?
Yes, yes. During the interview we had with the farmers initially were enthusiastic because when the Upper River Basin Development Authority came in 1976, they were made to understand that the agency would be working with the farmers to develop their land, help them in extension services, provide their skills, build their skills in the utilization of new inputs to increase their food production. And they, of course, they saw changes in their life. And so when this new engagement came on board, they were so enthusiastic that all the 7 things I listed will definitely be something that will reduce, of course, their poverty line, increase their yield, and of course engages them also to the outside world, because that was, of course, the prospect they were expecting. Now, in the course of that, we were expecting that when the real assessment process starts, Mr. A would now come and say, yes, our farming on this portion of land is assessed like this. Maybe I may be compensated, maybe I'll be told what next to do, and so on. And down the line, 3 years, they were not seeing anything. So what they only saw towards the beginning of the last year cropping season, which is around March, April, May, was the movement of some large production, large agricultural inputs coming into the area by Dominion Farms. And they now reach and they now become apprehended by like, how comes since 3 years ago we never saw anybody coming to talk to us for anything? Suddenly our land is given up. So they had cause to like complain to the then acting governor. And of course, you know, farmers, by their limitations and resources, they never had anybody to lay hand or to talk to. Until somehow, God willing, God was making it possible. And then we had a cause to visit. And then they saw us like somebody who is coming to give them a voice. And we explained, they saw us even as part of the conspirators to take their land, until we had to explain to them the mission why we came to their own community. And then it became apparent when they discovered that I am also from the state, because the 2 guys I went with from Environmental Right Action, they are not from Taraba State. So I now explained to them that even me too, I'm from this state, so I cannot come and seek them for anything. What actually brought me is to really listen to their own side of the story. What happened? At what level were they involved in the negotiation with Dominion Farms? And were they actually contacted when the assessment was done? Because I understand from before we went to the community, we went to State Ministry of Agriculture to know actually how was the assessment done Were they consulted? Were the farmers involved? And if the farmers were involved, who was the spokesman of the farmers and so on? Those are the questions that we asked from the ministry.
And this is something I actually wanted to speak to you directly on. So there, in a report that your organization, Center for Environmental Education and Development, as well as you mentioned Friends of the Earth, Nigeria, which is Environmental Rights Action, and GRAIN.
Yeah.
You came together and put up a report which mentioned that there was a memorandum of understanding. In other words, a sort of contract that was signed between Taraba State government and Dominion Farms, which laid out the particulars of the land ownership and how the land was going to be used. Have you yourself seen this memorandum of understanding?
Yes. From the office of the Commissioner of Agriculture in Taraba State, we wrote a letter requesting the copy of the MOU. And at that time, there were political changes in the state. The commissioner was not available. We approached the permanent secretary. He was not available on seat. And then we were referred to the director who is in charge in the Ministry of Dominion Farms activities. So we had a call to meeting. We discussed with him for over more than 50 minutes in his office. So he made us understand that yes, there is an MOU, but he is not the custodian of the MOU. And then also, the assessment that was done by the Ministry of Land and Survey Department of the Office of the Executive Governor. They in the ministry too are not in the privy or in the know of what was assessed, what was the volume of the money allocated on which plot of land, and how the disbursement of the money assessed was going to be done by the Taraba State government is entirely the Ministry of the Department of Land and Survey issue. So they say we should write to Ministry of Survey. And as I'm talking to you, our letter to Ministry of Land and Survey has not been replied up to today. So no one could say this is the copy of the MOU. Have it and have a look into the issues.
On our end, Sahara Reporters has also been trying to track down this memorandum of understanding, because that will actually tell us exactly what the specifics of the arrangement are. We actually spoke to the current commissioner of the agriculture in Taraba State, who is the Honorable David Ishkaya. And what he told me was he's just started serving in that capacity, and so he will have to look back and get back to us. So we can come.
Exactly.
We will look.
This is his second month in the office.
So we will look for that piece of document, because it's very important to understand what is going on. But right now, I've spoken to the area manager for the Upper River Basin Development Authority, who is Mr. Abdullahi himself, and he told me that he feels the method by which the land transfer took place was not correct, and it was not done in the best way because the community was left out. And he even feels that there will be pushback when the time comes for Dominion to take full possession of those lands from the farmers themselves. What do you anticipate will happen when the farmers are told to move off of the land?
Yeah, the question you've asked me is the same question I asked the farmers before I left their own village last year. They told me of two options. They said, one, they will resort to use of legal action, which is legal, which is allowable by the Nigerian law. And then they also said they could mobilize their families, stay on the portions of land peacefully and without violence. But where Dominion farms tend to use force on them, they will retaliate. So, but being a legal institution, we encourage them to toy the part of peace and then the legal means. And then we also say that we as civil society organizations will team up with them to create a voice, and hence that informed our discussions and the report which you saw that we wrote collectively together as organizations. And then we launched an e-action on that part, which is what made the report to be available to a lot of media organizations across the world. And then we are also looking at how holding media interactions with farmers and policymakers. We wanted to do that much this year, but the heated political discussion going on in the country is such that you may not have the real attention of the policymakers that you really need to also have their take on the whole process. So we now said, okay, after the elections, then we can get back to that. But basically, I see a situation where the farmers are not involved in the whole process, especially even if for nothing, Federal Minister of Water Resources would have even been involved because they have been on the land, working and managing it with the farmers since 1976. They would have also been involved rather than just coming to give a presidential order of say, hand over the movable and immovable property to Dominion Farms and they take over control. It's not done everywhere in the world.
Okay, Mr. Enoch. I'm sorry, but we've come to the end of our program. But viewers, please don't go away. We will definitely continue to follow this story in the near future. Thank you very much for your time, Mr. Raymond Enoch.
Thank you so much. We look over to working with Sahara reporters in this process and other media and other organizations that are equally interested in giving farmers voice wherever they are, not only in Taraba State, but in any other part of the world. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was Mr. Titi Enoch, who is the founder and CEO of the Center for Environmental Education and Development in Nigeria. Please don't go away. We will be right back with another special guest, Anuradha Mittal, who is the executive director of the Oakland Institute and who can speak to the larger issue of land grabs happening in Africa. Stay tuned.